Welcome to another Pitchside podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment on Midfield Sundowns TV. Welcome, my gents.
Yes.
Oli.
Who's-era?
We're good. How are you?
The heat is hot.
It's unnecessary.
Oh, Lord.
It's hot.
Gents,
The
we...
sky, this is sun ups.
Yeah, this
The
heat
sun
is
is up.
ridiculous. My gents, we witnessed the game, the first game that Midfield Sundowns played, and we all know the results. Midfield Sundowns is the first African team to get maximum points in this FIFA Club World Cup. What's your take on that on its own, as to then Midfield Sundowns coming into this tournament as one of, the African giants?
First, I'd like to just applaud my boys. My boys.
Shine.
It's like you say, the first African team to get 3 points. The first African team to score, and it just keeps on going. It keeps on going, and it's really wonderful to see. I was having a chat a few days ago with KK saying, seeing the badge of Midfield Sundowns alongside great teams globally is what has always been envisioned, and for the boys to top it off with a win, it was something really, really special, unbelievable, breathtaking to witness, and I'm really, really proud.
So Skipper, I want us to get into possibly maybe like individual performance before we can sum it up as from a team perspective. You have Cupido that is starting his second game, and as a Mamelodi Sundowns player starting, and you look at the game that he played. What's your take on that, especially knowing that we looked at the lineup and we're like, oh, this is a new centre back pairing with him and Grant. What's your take on the defence and also his performance as an individual?
Firstly, let me congratulate the team for that job well done. In a well stage. That's a well stage. And when you saw the lineup, I think the number one thing would be the new combination at the back. Maybe it's a concern to say that's a very fragile position to make those changes. But I was impressed with the amount of work the team, put in that field, to make sure that every department, every box was ticked. Cupido, for me, together with the back four, they did what it takes to keep 0 behind. And this is what Midfield Sundowns are about, to keep 0 behind. And we always know if we do that business well, we always have a goal, we always have an opportunity to score. Overall performance of that group, I think I'll give them 9.5 out of 10. And I removed that 5 deliberately, simply because I know
There's room for improvement.
And there's room for that. In that box of the opposition, we can enter a lot and try to force issues when we give an opportunity. But this is the match that we spoke about that is very important. We have to win that first match, and we did that.
Proper,
and we put ourselves in a good position. And if you remember the talk in the morning, it's when you win the first match, the second match, you can hope to take out the calculator to say, I can cancel this one. I still are on 4. Now the last match is what will determine what's going to happen in outside that group stage. So the team is in a good position. I'd love to believe so. I was happy with the overall of the performance. We had balance yesterday for when Temba came to make us play between Allende and Tebogo. Solid midfield performances, and I think this is the level where Mamelodi Sundowns should play. In considering the fact that even when things look so easy, they didn't do the funny things. The funny things of you and I, when we do five-a-side, we want to step on the ball. No, we didn't. The pass was passing, moving the ball. I was happy to see that. That was matured performance by the team, and I think with that level, they just need to improve in making sure that they enter a lot in the opposition.
And Sugar, I just also like want to get maybe just to prick your mind a little bit. When you look at the opposition, how they set themselves up in terms of how they played against Mamelodi Sundowns. Were you surprised seeing Mamelodi Sundowns dominating ball position? Were you surprised as to then how the opponents gave so much respect to Mamelodi Sundowns?
Definitely, T, because you come to a tournament whereby you understand that everybody in the tournament deserves to be here because they've worked hard, and you already know that you have to show respect to your opponents. But I was totally very, very pleased and excited to see how dominant Mamelodi Sundowns were. The way they moved the ball around with confidence, and the way they were playing with speed. The speed, I think the tempo of the game, they were able to raise the tempo and drop it down, raise it and drop it, because you've got a player who came into the game like 𝐤𝐤𝐤𝐬𝐬 now with a solid confidence, and it then releases everyone else, because once you dominate the midfield, it becomes easier for all other departments to function, because we have the ball and we don't lose the ball easily. There's security on the ball, skipper would say, and security, there was total security, because the passes, if you look at the number of passes made as compared to our opponents, you could see there is a very big margin, and that's where Mamelodi Sundowns dominates. That's where Mamelodi Sundowns plays when we're in total control of the game. So having to see I didn't expect so much respect from the opponents. I thought there were moments where you could see the quality that they have. They could play out and play quick, and almost got chances. They got so close to also getting a goal, but the team was able to calm down. Solid performance from the likes of Divine, who continuously shows us. Khuliso, you can never not mention him, because he continues to do well. So I think the team was so balanced, like Skipper says, that even the substitutions that came in, you could see that the impact that is being brought there was really needed, and it was good, because we didn't allow it to go too long before making the change. We kept the rhythm going in the tempo. The moment you felt like you need to inject more speed, there was a substitution. The moment you felt like they are now coming at us, we made a substitution. So that destabilized the plans of the opponents, and it also gave us the confidence to continue and make sure that we win the game.
To add on what sort of to cut you, I think the plus on the performance was the roles that were played on that match, because when you look at the setup of that team, told you very well that they're gonna come with 5 at the back, and for you to manipulate that to make sure that you push them back to play really straight line on the off 5, you make sure that you use the ball properly, and the 𝐤𝐤𝐬𝐿𝐬𝐻𝐿, Chiga were in control of that. And as a result, as a team that plays without the ball a lot, they had to respond by making sure that they drop the line very, very deep. And as a result, it gave us that confidence to say, let's go between the lines. And if you saw the goal that we scored, it was simply because it was a straight line of 5. And you can't be offside when it's like that, when you're on the ball, when you have somebody who's going to turn like Temba did to find Ribeiro. And now it isolated so many players in the midfield, because when you play 5, it means in the midfield you'll play with 3. And then that means it will be 5, 3, and then you try by all means to put 2 or 1/2. So that strikers normally don't want to chase somebody going that deep, and 𝐤𝐤𝐬𝐻𝐿, there's a moment where you said 𝐤𝐤𝐬𝐻𝐿 go deeper, and he's like, he had you, he stepped a little bit, and he allowed now a 9v10 with our player when Grant stepped into the midfield. That, as a result, it gave us that opportunity to say, even if we lose the ball, we're still right in front of your big box. And the best teams in the world, the team that plays with the ball, they make sure that they play in front of your big box. And if you look at the previous matches in the Champions League, and maybe with the matches that teams play with that 5, we allow them a lot to regroup and put at the shape. So with that match, we didn't allow them to put the shape back. Once we bypass the first line of press, when they're exposed, we use the ball with speed, with a lot of passes. I don't know whether maybe the pitch was speaking to them, but you can tell that the passes were clean. Maybe the movement and maybe the break between the last match and today's or last night's match was enough for the boys to feel like they're missing the game, because other movements, I don't know, I just love them, you know. No, they make football look so easy, and I know it's not an easy space. The one where they're playing. This is a Club World Cup. Guys.
Yeah, and when you speak of such tournaments, we speak of the group stages, which is something that we're familiar with when it comes to continental football, and also what's important about group stages is keeping zero at the back, but also scoring goals. We've witnessed that Rangers scored 3, 2 were disallowed in the first half, and we even though when we were sitting watching the game, we kept on saying like he needs to break because of the line were broken, especially at the back that you're talking about, the 5 that were at the back. So they always like had a broken line, and he's the person that actually has that mentality to actually break, because he plays over the shoulder. So now he got the man of the match.
Yeah.
Let's speak about him.
Ikram
Rangers.
Number 13 Rangers.
Okay. 13.
Number plates I got there. Hey.
No, that 13 will give us problems.
Hey,
yeah, no. No, he's a scoring machine.
No, the guy is a scoring
machine.
machine.
He's a finisher, yeah.
He's a finisher. Yeah, I like the way he you could see from the onset. The runs he was making, the pressing traps that he was setting, and also making sure that he always forces the centre back pairing to defend facing their own goal. So you got the first few seconds where Salas almost scored. He made the press. When you look at the goal that he scored with the hand that was disallowed, he's in the kitchen. Yeah. He's right there to make sure that anything happens. When he scored that goal, the weight of the pass from Lucas, unbelievable. Just on your path and do the rest.
Like
the second one as well, you could see the little bit of a chip that was unfortunately was just a little bit offside, but you can see that he's come to a tournament understanding his responsibility, and he's already shown us that he's got the goals.
Yeah. I think when you look at the player like Ike, if you would wanna give advices to younger players that want to be strikers, that's a serious, a beautiful example.
It's
to
a
say.
case study.
Yeah, because when you look at the Ike, he just play a role very well. He wants to be a scorer. All the runs that he makes is to make sure that if he doesn't pull a defender away, he's creating space for another one to fill in. If he's not making himself a first option to be played, he's always want to receive. But always, when he receives, he's facing the goals. If you look at his runs a lot of times. So I think the strikers needs to understand the roles, to know that when you play with a team like Sundowns, players like Butemba who knows how to establish play, you don't want to come short and try to establish players.
Yeah, because you've got enough.
You've got enough. So with him, it's easier because he understands, as Sugar said, he understands his role, and the responsibility says, if I play with these guys, the only thing that I can do for them is to give them option to say, play me. If you saw the goal that he scored, he was just coming from press, and then he was coming from offside. As they control, already he was onside. He's saying, "Play me." So that, I think it's a good trait of being a striker, and that's why he scores so many goals. And maybe it's because he has trained for that, and he will continue to score so many goals if he continue with the same. If he's injury free, of course, and if he's the same mentality, because he's got the mentality of being a striker.
And to be honest with you, when going to that game. Because also you remember we actually went to the stadium a couple of days before the match. The first thing that we've been complaining about ever since we arrived there is the heat, the humidity of the heat, and that was my biggest concern when going to that game. Is then how as much as we know, because I spoke to Rono and he said at this heat, it's like guys, but we're used to it, but he said this is humid though. And then that was my biggest concern first. I wasn't looking for the quality of play. I was just looking as to then how then would they cope. And I realized also what helps as well is like based on our position giving us so much respect, which means now we can control the tempo with the ball. We can rise it whenever we want to and slow it down whenever we want to. So then we conserve our energy on the ball, and that helps us a lot. And I strongly believe as well that with the movement that we had, with now that we have played one game, we've acclimatized to the conditions, we've acclimatized to the tournament itself. We're doing all those things based on a victory.
Before you go any further, maybe you should answer the question where I should ask you, what could be the reason why we lasted that longer in that match? Looking at the overall first half.
What helps is, like me, I'll answer from a midfielder's point of view. I've been a midfielder that never enjoyed defending, so therefore counter-pressing helps because then I don't have to run a longer distance. But now on the ball, there's always an energy because we want to play because we're on the ball. And that helped because then we are a team that really, really wants to be on the ball. Because even though we speak about the midfield dominance that we had, when I was watching the game, all I was looking for is the movement between them. Because I remember Temba was now playing as an 8. Him and I, and Debs was a little bit the one who was sitting back. So I was trying to figure out to look as to then what are the movements are, because Temba was playing as an 8, but on the right hand side, that's where Ribeiro operates and comes in as a 10. And from now, every time I'm looking at Mamelodi Sundowns, it's always tactical. I'm not looking at the quality, because I know the quality. I know that. Only when it becomes a problem, like I'm like, okay, where's the rhythm now? Because we have to have a rhythm. So for me, it's like, okay, now that Temba's is playing as an 8, let me see how the movements are going to be, right? And now I could see the fluidity between the midfielders, because these three have played together for so long, and that helps in reducing the stress of Lucas in terms of helping us to play, to carry us. So then it frees him to, when we get into Lucas, it's fresher to carry the ball instead of coming in too deep to control, to try and turn. And that was impressive, because then the most dangerous Lucas Ribeiro is the one that is playing just outside the box.
Outside the box.
And
he's creative and he's clinical.
But the frustrated Lucas comes deeper because he doesn't get the balls that he needs at the right time. And I strongly believe that we had the midfielders that are able to penetrate with the penetrative pass going forward when the opportunity arises. But at some point, because that team as well, it's a highly technical team. At some point, when they resort to a good shape, we were able to rotate the ball. And what was most impressive about all that was, you spoke about the tempo, but also like the speed of the ball.
The ball, yes.
That is very impressive, because
that's what I was coming.
Yeah, because for not personally, I don't like people that dealing on the ball. Hey, Muna, let the ball move. You understand what I'm saying? Because when you're playing against a team that has a block, the only way to move that block is to rotate the ball a little bit faster. And sometimes you go side pa, come back, side pa. One of them will step in. Once you step in, that's when you penetrate. Now you open the hole. And you have midfielders in our team that are smarter than that. They'll be able to read the game like that. And what's also, as much as it was a game that it was, but also like one thing that I've taken from the opposition is you have centre backs that are not scared to step in. Yeah. Like, but also there's a buffer because they're 5. They're very, very good. So those are things I'm like, these are things that we can learn. These are things that we can actually implement in our game. Because then you look at, because sometimes it's like for a midfield to step in, for a centre back to step in, you look at the person that has the ball. Yeah. Where is he looking? Because you've got midfielders that are just playing. But Shebile Moffat. So if you Shebile Moffat, I know that you're looking for a pass here. So I'm easier to step in because of I know that the danger that I'm scared of, you're not seeing it as a person that is carrying the ball. So those are the type of things that I was looking for, or things that I really, really saw from the opposition. They were very, very impressive.
I wanted to add on that because sorry to cut you. The reason why I asked you that question is because I wanted you to re-emphasize on how we managed to control that game. Is because we didn't look desperate, not even once. Not even... I get the ball. I didn't have an option to pass. All the time we had those triangles. And I did mention it previously. When you want to see a Sundowns team or how good they are, give them triangles. And we look like we were in control from the first whistle because of the triangles. Temba was not shy to come and be on a straight line with Marcelo and Tebza. You need that as a team like Sundowns because we want that rhythm. We want to play with that rhythm, and the more we are in charge of that bounce ball, we spoke about it in the bounce ball that we were not afraid to play the bounce ball yesterday.
That's one of the most important passes in the midfield.
The bounce ball, you get it back. That draws the line, and you can tell we spoke about their captain, who is very, very smart technically. He plays as a centre back, but he can play as a 6.
He knows how to step inside and add numbers.
And he's got all these ranges of passes as well.
But he was beaten by that bounce ball, because he was not anticipating that for that bounce ball, because every time he comes close, normally I'm sure wherever he comes from, the league that he plays, that he wins those. That's why he was so comfortable to go all the way to the center line to go and press Marcelo. But once the Temba plays that 1-2 and Kgalelisa, you can tell that he's not familiar with that, and that opens up the big gap behind them,
the
and
defense,
because they're playing with 5, they are not accustomed to open the last line very early, and with that I was so impressed, like you said, with the midfielders, that the triangles were good, the Reyners in the pocket was good. Salas was giving us the option to come into the midfield, and I think Salas can improve in that, make sure that he security on the ball, because once we got to him,
because he does get to the right spaces, and they
just
find him. So I think I agree with you on that one, because it then helps us to have more numbers, and it then helps us to have a free flow of movements amongst, because we're a team that has offensive players that are moving around the pitch. So if someone comes in, you find it easier to go and cover up in the other place. You find different spaces. So I think having him coming there, all that's needed is to make sure that security on the ball. When you get it there, it's either that bounce ball and then get it again, then continue, because he's much more effective when he's facing the opponent's goal than when he has to turn with the ball under pressure. So
I think that's the 5% that I took out of our team performance, because even when Iki comes short, there was a moment me and Tiko, we said hold, and then he wanted to flick it, and then he's the person we want to
find.
You know what I mean? We're playing for him to establish that play for us. Before you do anything, just control it and give us a chance to come into play.
And also, like what you're saying, in that instance, like which we know that he will actually watch this. In that instance, is once you hold, like don't hold it to get the ball to get stuck in between your legs. You hold
and let him move,
to play somebody in an angle for you also to receive it in an angle, because you've got speed. And also sometimes that type of a play, it's because we're bypassing a pressing line, we're using you as an outlet. But then if we're using you, which he didn't, he did maybe once or twice, that we trying to flick and they lost the ball. But once we're using you as an outlet, if you're not helping us being an outlet, then we're losing. There's no need for us to bypass this pressing line, because then it bounces back and then it comes back. And I strongly believe that, like you said, maybe the 5% that you're speaking about is to realize as to then what is it that we can learn from this tournament, because we're going to play different opposition from different countries, playing different type of football. And if we can't be arrogant to say we're not going to learn something, we're not going to learn certain things, and those things that we're going to learn is things that we're going to implement that elevate Sundowns to a next level. We spoke about, you said you saw the flag, Mamelodi Sundowns flag amongst the other flags of international footballers. Now we're no longer an African team, a global team, because we play in global competitions. And now we need to copy now what the global teams are doing, in terms of for us to implement what we've learned from the global stage, to implement it locally, to come back again to the global stage. And when you come back to the global stage, it's not a foreign space, because it's a space that we're supposed to be at and be able to do what they're doing. And then what sets us apart now becomes the talent. And the talent that we have in abundance. You look at the substitution that were made, you know, it's you look at the bench, you look at the guys that never played, you look at the guys that are training right now that never touched the ball. So talent is abundant. It's in abundance. And I'm so looking forward to see how Mamelodi Sundowns will be able to play in the next 2 games, to see how far we can go in this tournament. Yes, we've opened up the first game with a victory. We could have scored more, we could have done more, but it is the first game that we adjusted to. And I'm excited, man, to see how far we can go. And like I said, even when we're watching the game,
no, we've got
goalkeeper. When we bypass, when the defense is broken down, goalkeeper that is there to actually make those important saves, and that's what he did.
Of course, a team like ours, every department has to function. It's just abundance that you're speaking about. Every player has to play their role properly, and the goalkeeper came into play where we needed him the most, and make that big save, and it still gave us an opportunity to be into the game and be safe. of course. Luke Ribeiro.
Number
is
10.
there.
Number 9.
Number 9. Fela Portuguese.
Luke Ribeiro knows that he has to be in that box as a lot of the position to make sure that he causes problems. There's an opportunity that he got. What did he wanted to do? To pass. So I'm sure that's what they fall into under
the one that he passed level second half.
5% that I was talking about. That we need to be clinical, because this is a tournament of small margins. Every opportunity counts.
I liked how you also recognize the importance of Ronza, because he brings in another level of leadership as well. He's a captain. And I saw in one stage of the game, because you could see the movements of Mshishi, making sure that the team plays.
You gotta love him.
And Ronza reminds Mshishi, calm down.
I'm gonna find you.
I'm gonna get you. And he finds him, and then when Mshishi is now running and making sure, he says, save your energy, because like you mentioned, the heat is totally different. I think that conversation we had with him, it also rang in his mind during the game to say, as much as we are dominating, we also need to be conservative of our energy so that we don't burn out. And I could see him always, when he sees that the team is now playing too fast, he was the one from the goals to say, slow the tempo down, recover, and then he also initiates, says, now we can go again. So it's really important.
But you got to enjoy that player while he's still playing football.
Temba as well.
Yes, sir.
Oh, that number 18 is something special. Oh, he's special.
Ralebu in closure, because we still have 2 more games. We still have more conversations to have. We still have more games to analyze and inform and educate. Thank you very much for your insights. And I'll lastly say, when you see Mamelodi Sundowns dominating position, you must also know, if Mamelodi Sundowns has 600 passes completed, you must know Boma 80 thing, Ronwen, because it's one of our best passers in the team.
True.
And many people actually don't want to speak about it, but I'll say it still. Ronwen is one of our best passers as a goalkeeper. He finds solutions whenever we're under pressure. And this is another one of those dope episodes in this heat of Florida.
In Florida, baby.
Inside Podcast.
In Florida, baby. We
are
Florida, baby.